Men who are embarrassed buying feminine hygiene products for family members. Exactly what are you worried other people are thinking? I don't see a problem with doing it. I've purchased them a few times. My only concern is making sure the picture she sent matches what I grab. I hold her purse as well while shopping. Sometimes I forget I'm holding it. I did realize why women's shoulders hurt from carrying it all day. WTF do you all have in those things that are that heavy, lol? I know some guys who refuse to hold their wife's purse. I'm secure in my manhood enough to do it. Maxi pads ain't mine, so whoever looking at judging me can go to hell. Lol. There's just the regular misogynistic stuff about how they'll be perceived as less of a man because he's whipped and buying his wife her hygiene products, or that regular body functions are dirty in some way, and are ashamed about even acknowledging that. It happens, depending on where you live. Transphobia is a huge thing. Not saying the person buying the product is trans, just that the threat of getting hurt because someone might perceive the person buying is trans is a problem in some areas. I worked at Whole Foods for a long time and was surprised when I realized the feminine products were tucked back in a disused corner of the store. I asked leadership what they thought about the nice big end cap with these products proudly displayed for all who needed them. It was a non-starter. There's a deep-seated cultural bias against periods and women. Are they on their periods? It's pathetic and cowardly. Big tough men who can't touch a period pad because they're scared. I never cared, but sometimes women in the aisle seem uncomfortable by my presence. I then calmly explain that I'm here to help women and offer advice and provide tips for usage, asking about how heavy the flow is and how long they usually take. I then calmly guide them towards the right brand, providing them with my name and number to reach out if they have any other questions. No one has called for extra advice yet, so I must be providing great information. I feel acutely aware that many people are very threatened by a man in a space traditionally for women, so less about buying the product itself, but going into aisles and being actively perceived as a threat is taxing to the psyche. I try my best to not draw attention to myself where possible, so I'll do it if needed, but I'm aware the whole time that I will be viewed as an intruder potential threat, which is a dehumanizing experience. It's more common in older generations, but I think it has a lot to do with fragile masculinity. Some men react very acutely to perceived loss of masculinity, anything that calls their masculinity into question. Even holding feminine products can mean that you're less of a man. You won't hear that from them though, because self-awareness is also emasculating as well. It's like Fight Club. You don't talk about it. Yeah, one time my mother was not fit to leave the house and insisted on going to the drugstore herself. I finally dug it out of her what she needed, and it was some sort of feminine pads. I told her I'd go get them, and she said she didn't want to have to ask me because you'd be embarrassed. It didn't bother me at all that even women have these weird 50s hang-ups about anything related to period care. Taught in schools, all US schools, there wouldn't even be a debate about abortion or birth control or putting pad tampon dispensers in bathrooms, and period tax or period poverty wouldn't be a thing. It is very frustrating being shamed for menstruation, which I have zero control over without birth, is also heavily debated, though not in my state, Maryland. I was raised in a super conservative house. Anything to do with sex and private parts was off limits. I still get a feeling of being dirty sometimes when I have sex with my wife, so for me that whole hour gives me overwhelming anxiety. I know it is stupid, and I am working on it to not pass it to my kids, but I legit don't know if I could buy some without it causing me issues. This question assumes it's a rational choice on their part. For many, it's an irrational response to socialized shame. They can't tell you exactly why. They may try to explain it after the fact. But for many, we are taught that anything specifically female, whether about menstruation, body hair, or even sexuality, is shameful. They're just living that shame in that moment. I'm guessing a lot of it is visceral. We're a communal species, so if we see someone else, especially someone important to us, seem scared or disgusted by something, we are wired to often absorb that fear. It can then be very hard to diffuse that reflexive response, even if there's no conscious concern, and we even intellectually know it's irrational. There was a study a while ago in which some men refused to touch a clean tampon because just the idea of it was gross to them. Going on here, it's not that they think people will laugh at them for having a woman in their life they care about. It's that to them tampons are gross and people will see them with a gross ting. It's actually hard to find the correct ones the first few times. The first time you buy a pack of tampons, you have about as much experience as a teenager. It's probably the same as asking someone to buy me some razor blades. I think Gillette sell about 6 types of razor blades that are incompatible. And if he's seen buying period products, it means he is involved it being gross by association. Like if you bought wet wipes, it means you have a shitty ass. No idea how that moron had a girlfriend. Been married 17 years. I don't give a shit what people think if I have to run to the store to buy something for my wife. People need to grow up. That's a middle school mentality. If you're watching what other people buy at the store, then you're the one with the issues in my opinion. Perhaps they're worried others will think it's for themselves, that maybe they're trans or something. Even if that's the case, 1. Who cares if you're trans? 2. Even if you are, you can just lie if you're uncomfortable and say these are for my sister, mother, friend, girlfriend, wife, etc. I wouldn't be embarrassed if I was doing it. I would hold that box out like it's the Lion King. Behold, there is at least one female of childbearing age with whose menstrual cycle I am intimately involved. Go me, I am winning at life. They are afraid another man will see them and mock them by saying it's for the mohegari that time of the month. Again, same reason why some dudes are afraid to hold a purse. It's dumb and honestly I think more of a media-created problem. I used to work in the pharmacy department of a grocery store and knew the feminine hygiene stuff better than most women probably did. It was like a badge of honor for me. Chicks were impressed by it, which was the main priority for me at the time. My brother actually bought tampons for my mum one time, pads for me. He literally couldn't have cared less. He was helping the women in his family. He will most likely buy feminine hygiene products for his soon-to-be wife next. It's super easy. Send me a pic of what you need and I'll grab it. Nobody cares. I had one person say something once and it was a lady. She told me they were BOGO and I would get brownie points if I got her to, so I did. Oh my god, so my husband was buying me tampons one day and some lady got sulfur monoxide angry with him. Like, you shouldn't be in this, are you fucking pervert level angry? He just kind of looked at her, laughed and walked away. It never bothered me in the least, as long as I was told exactly what to get. A few times I did notice that younger women were uncomfortable with me on that I'll with them and would walk away until I was done. It's literally a function of being a woman. I have never worried that people think I'm shoving tampons up my ass or something. I think it's a shami unclean thing, but I could be wrong. People are concerned about the stupidest stuff. My son did not want to stand outside the bathroom and wait for the person inside to finish because people would see him and know he needed to go to the bathroom. It must be something about periods in general, because my grandmother was afraid to buy products too, because she said it was embarrassing for a woman her age to need them. She would make me go get them for her. I think it is a little embarrassing whenever looking or picking out anything I'm not familiar with, even when in the past I'll trying to compare to sources, especially if it is obvious that you're clueless. I am never embarrassed about buying them during regular grocery shopping, that I would be perturbed about having to make an emergency trip. How do you forget it's going to happen again? It's right in the name. I never cared, but as a young husband my wife tore her pantyhose. She sent me with instructions for what to ask for. 2 women helped me but fucked with me, joking that they were for myself. It can happen. Never understood why this was a thing. Are men afraid the cashier will think, ha, this guy has a significant other, family member, or close friend that they care about? How embarrassing. My girlfriend sent me round to buy her some tights once from the local shop and the girl behind her counter mocked me. This was 30 years ago in a small Irish town, and I'm sure it's changed. I think this is something everyone has been conditioned to be embarrassed about from sitcoms. I have never cared about buying products for my wife. It's just a natural function of her body, because shaming someone for not knowing how to do something discourages them from trying to learn how to do that thing. I swear. Some people just don't see men as human beings. I have 4 sisters. I've had to buy feminine products more times than I can count. You ever been in a house with for sisters' periods cinched up? That is the definition of hell, ha 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 ha. When I was younger, I was worried that people would think they were for me. But then at one point, I realized that I don't give a fuck about others' opinions, especially strangers. No man I know would ever buy that. Sorry, that's wait. Women I know would never ask a man soothing. God never had that problem. Privacy and please leave man alone. Same about buying condoms as a teen. I proudly bought them, rarely got to use them. But the cashier thought my body count was through the roof. That's all that mattered. I was in a TX town for a conference, and I and a colleague both needed tampons. The Target that was attached to our hotel had nitrogen monoxide products except for pads. We were shocked of making the female employees uncomfortable buying sensitive products to them, and of the male employees to find humor in the fact that I have women that need help. My ex refused to buy me pads, ever. I was sick with the flu once and had to order them on ship because he absolutely would not buy them. He said they were gross. Same reason a girl buying tampons might look for self-checkout or a female cashier over a male. Shyness. I don't have this, but it's the logical, simple argument. They're gonna think I piss on the tampons, freeze them, stick them in my ass, and slowly let them defrost while I live stream it all to a live audience of 0. But everyone that sees does that whipping will sound in their heads, and your penis shrinks imperceptibly each time that happens. Legend has it that a man's nuts will actually fall off from too much exposure to feminine products. I've seen it with my own eyes. I found most cashiers do not fucking care even a little bit. Hell, some are stoned out of their mind. At my local store anyway.